Turning $600,000 into $6 million is an incredible achievement at any age. But what happens when that financial success brings with it a tax bill that can take your breath away? Imagine hitting 80 years old, seeing your nest egg grow beyond your wildest dreams, and suddenly being faced with required minimum distributions, RMDs, so large, the IRS comes knocking with a six-figure tax bill. Today, we're diving into the dilemma many retirees never saw coming: how to handle massive RMDs and the giant taxes that follow after years of diligent saving and smart investing. Let's set the stage. The story at the center of this discussion is about a retired teacher. She did everything right, saved consistently, invested wisely, and watched her retirement account balloon from $600,000 to an astonishing $6 million. That's the kind of growth financial planners dream of. But now, as she turns 80, she's required by law to take out a chunk of her retirement savings every year, her RMD. The catch? This year, that amount is $300,000. And because it all counts as taxable income, she's staring down a tax bill that could easily hit six figures. So how did we get here? First, let's talk about what RMDs actually are. If you have a tax-deferred retirement account, like a traditional IRA or 401k, the IRS eventually wants its cut. These accounts let your money grow tax-free for decades. But at a certain age, currently 73, the government requires you to start withdrawing a minimum amount each year. That's your RMD. And yes, every dollar you take out is taxed as ordinary income, just like wages. For most retirees, RMDs aren't a big deal. The average American enters retirement with about $170,000 in savings, according to the Federal Reserve. For them, RMDs are modest and the tax impact is manageable. But for those who saved aggressively, invested well, or simply benefited from decades of market growth, the numbers can get huge, fast. If you've got millions in your retirement account, your RMD can easily jump into the hundreds of thousands, pushing you into the highest tax brackets even if you're no longer working. Now let's put some numbers to this. At age 80, the IRS uses a life expectancy factor of about 18.7 for calculating RMDs. For a $6 million IRA, that means the RMD is roughly $321,000, right in line with our teacher's situation. If she's single, that income alone rockets her into the 35% federal tax bracket, not to mention state taxes if she lives in a state that taxes retirement income. Suddenly, her income for the year, on paper at least, looks like that of a top executive, even though it's just her own savings being withdrawn. Let's be clear, this isn't some tax loophole or IRS gotcha. The rules have been around for decades. The idea is simple. The government gave you a tax break on the way in, but they want their share on the way out. It's just that most people don't anticipate their accounts growing this large or the tax hit being this severe. So what can you do if you find yourself in this position? The truth is, once you're already taking RMDs, your options are limited. But there are a few strategies to manage or at least soften the blow. First, charitable giving. If you don't need all your RMD for living expenses, you can make a qualified charitable distribution or QCD directly from your IRA to a charity. This counts toward your RMD but isn't included in your taxable income, up to $100,000 per year. For philanthropic retirees, this is a win-win. Second, consider your tax withholding. If you're facing a massive tax bill, make sure your IRA custodian is withholding enough taxes with each distribution. That way, you're not scrambling to come up with a huge payment come tax time or facing penalties for underpayment. Third, think about legacy planning. If leaving money to heirs is a priority, remember that inherited IRAs now have to be emptied within 10 years under the Secure Act. That means your kids or grandkids could face their own big tax bills down the line. Trusts, Roth conversions, or spreading out withdrawals may help manage the impact, but these are strategies best considered before you hit your RMD years. And that brings us to the ultimate lesson. Tax planning shouldn't start at retirement. It should start decades earlier. If you're still in your 50s or 60s and your retirement accounts are growing rapidly, you might want to look at Roth conversions. That's when you move money from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. Pay the taxes now at potentially lower rates, and then enjoy tax-free growth and withdrawals later. It's not always the right move, but for some, It can be a powerful tool to avoid giant RMDs and tax bills in retirement. There's also the question of diversification, not just in how you invest, but in what types of accounts you use. Having some money in Roth accounts, some in taxable brokerage accounts, and some in tax-deferred accounts can give you more control over your tax situation in retirement. But let's get back to our teacher. She did everything right, lived below her means, invested smartly, and trusted the process. Her story is a reminder that financial success can bring its own surprises, and sometimes those surprises come with a hefty tax bill. The key takeaway? Planning for taxes isn't just for the ultra-wealthy or the financial pros. It's something every investor should think about long before retirement age. As for what our teacher can do now, well, she can minimize her taxes where possible, give to charity if she chooses, and make sure her heirs are prepared for what's coming. But for the rest of us, her story is a wake-up call. Don't let taxes be an afterthought. The IRS is always waiting at the finish line. So whether you're just starting out or already well into your retirement journey, remember, the decisions you make today can shape your tax bill tomorrow. And sometimes a little planning now can mean a lot more freedom and a lot fewer surprises down the road.